Was I wrong about Iran? So I got called out by hundreds of people and by some very prominent TikTokers, like this one over here, for making a rather bleak and pessimistic video about what we can really do for the women in Iran, both individually and speaking about the broader Western hegemony in general. We need more diplomacy, we need more sanctions, we need to put more pressure on Iran, put more pressure on the most consistently sanctioned country for the past 5 decades, which until the Ukraine invasion had more sanctions put on them than Venezuela, Russia, North Korea, or even Syria. We need to remember that America has been trying to bring down this regime since the 1970s with heavy sanctions funding various rebel groups, like during the 1985 Iran-Contra episode where Reagan secretly bypassed America's own sanctions to sell arms to Iran in hope of siphoning some off to a rebel group named Contra. It ended terribly with lots of executions, and for the last 20 years the entire West and even other traditionally non-aligned countries have all used their diplomatic powers to attempt to stop the nuclear regime, which geopolitically is of far greater importance than human rights, I'm afraid. I'm not stating this as my opinion, but it's just how it is. And it was all of limited success. After decades of failed sanctions, attempted coups, and then diplomacy, in 2018 Trump withdrew from the nuclear deal and imposed a maximum pressure policy that massively increased sanctions on an already heavily sanctioned country in hope of forcing Iran to the negotiating table. It deprived Iran of billions of dollars sitting in the banks of various other countries like even China, and it also massively lowered Iran's ability to sell oil. It was brutal, and guess what? It didn't work. And in recent months, countries from America to even small insignificant ones like Australia are imposing sanctions on individuals in Iran, like on Iran's prosecutor general, numerous military and paramilitary leaders, and even owners of Iranian companies, similar to Russian oligarchs at the beginning of the Ukrainian war. And guess what? They haven't worked. And now Iran is doubling down on publicly executing dissenters on the world stage. As we saw with Russia at the beginning of the Ukrainian war, I think it's unreasonable to expect that the West can do much of anything. We can't even organize the release of dual national American and European prisoners held in Iran as hostages who have been there for about 7 years. The truth is, even before the latest Iranian revolution, Western powers had already exhausted their diplomatic and sanctioning leverage. Military action too is unlikely to happen. Not only is it publicly unpopular in the West and would result with terrible casualties in Iran, far worse than what even the Iranian Revolutionary Guard can do, but it's no longer part of America's foreign policy doctrine, for their record in the region since the Arab Spring has been rather unsuccessful. I've seen some people bring up the idea of creating a credible military deterrent, so basically mobilizing and threatening an invasion if they don't bend to our will. Will it work? Well, maybe. Let's give it a 50% chance of working, but then there's a 50% chance, which is huge, that they will call our bluff, in which case if we don't invade, we can never use this strategy again. Everyone will see past this brinkmanship diplomacy, or if we do invade, it would be a new Iraq, millions dead. Now moving into 2023, on the topic of Iran, America has no nuclear deal, it has no diplomatic channels, and has no leverage over Iran through sanctions. It's now all down to the people in Iran to change the nature of the government from within themselves. And on that note, there's some good news, ladies and gentlemen, for once, because there's a window of opportunity that's about to open up. For the current Supreme Leader is 83 years old, and thus upon his death and the creation of an inevitable succession crisis and the instability that will come from that, this will be the perfect time to launch a revolution, or for a new leader to come in and act as a populare and bend to the people's wishes to solidify his base of power. However, being me, I always have to give a disclaimer, because it's very naive to believe that a Western-style, American-friendly democracy is the inevitable result from this revolution, because just as likely some kind of extremist revolutionary military dictatorship could also result from this, which would be disastrous. Look, if there was an easy option, it would have been done already. Many people have asked me, why can't I use my platform for good? Why can't I just spread hope and cheer to everyone? Well, we always need this reliable friend to pull us back down to reality, and that is unenviably my niche here on TikTok. Thanks for watching.